Good evening and welcome to Beitzah Daf Chavav, Beitzah 26. Um, Tonight is Lil Shana Rabbah. That means I wear my best, my undershirt, covered Shana Rabbah. I'm joking. I just very hot. Played an intense game of Risk. I won. I won the game of Risk. I conquered Israel. The Middle East was the last thing I had to conquer. I conquered it. And I won. That's it. Fight is over. I even got my big Gemara of my father-in-law here. Jumbo Gemara. Everyone knows the old Jumbo Gemaras they used to have. Very big Gemaras. I think they call it a tome. It's very big. It's a book. It's called a tome. A religious big book. So here we got a tome. We're doing Beitzah 26. Let's get on with it. The mission on the bottom of Ham Bay says, "Before Shenafal Abor, firstborn animal that was born, the firstborn animal that's born, normally it's born in the korban on the mizbeach in time of the base of the Mikdash. The meat was eaten by the Kohanim. If it gets a mum, so the Yisrael can keep it. If you gave it to the Kohen already, if it gets a mum by the Kohen is allowed to eat the meat. He doesn't have to bring it as a korban. It has to be a mum kavua. It has to be a permanent blemish, not a temporary blemish. Now, if you have a bechora, we don't know if it had a mum or not. It fell into a pit. Rabbi Omer Yerid Mumcha v'yira. Rita says a mumcha, an expert, should go down to the pit and see if it has some yishbo mum, yalav yishchod, imlav lo yishchod. Chavav aleph, if it has a mum kavua, so you bring it up and you shecht it, and if not, you just leave it there and don't shecht it. Rishon Omer, or Rishon Omer, kol she'en mumun nikar mibon yom ein zeh min hamucha. Rishon argues. He says that you can't go down to the pit to go see the bechor because if it wasn't nikar, if the mum wasn't nikar, you didn't know that it had a mum before Yom Tov. Now you found out a mum on Yom Tov. That's not called muchan. It's considered to be muksa because you didn't have the aseret. The obvious question is usually this is the opposite of what we normally assume. Yehuda yesh lo muksa, and Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold of muksa. So why does Rabbi Shimon have a problem of muksa and Yehuda doesn't have a problem of muksa? See in the Gemara they're not arguing about muksa, they're arguing about something else. The Gemara says, Micah Mifliki. What are they arguing about? Inam Baro and Mum Mifliki. They're talking about seeing the machlokes is whether you're allowed to see a mum on Yom Tov. Now the problem with seeing mumim is being machshir it. It's sort of a tikkun to the animal that allows it to be eaten by a Yisrael or by a Kohen without bringing it as a korban. So if you see that the Kohen sees it on a mum and he declares that as a mum, it's sort of like a bastin. And you can't form a bastin on Yom Tov. It's sort of a tikkun mana. You're doing a halachic change in something that's considered like a physical change. So if you say the machlokes is whether you could see mumin on Yom Tov, Yehuda Savar Ro, and he holds it's not considered bastin. Rowan Mum Yom Tov, Shimon Savar in Rowan Mum Yom Tov, and he holds you can't. That's why Rabbi Shimon said you can't go down and see. V'leflik Rowan Mum da Alma. B'chor Shnafal Labor. So why does that talk about a b'chor that fell into a pit? Just talking about a bechor, regular bechor, it didn't fall into a pit. What's to do with falling into a pit? So the Gemara's answer is no. It is needed. Bechor shenafal labor, it's shrichla. It is needed to teach me a mishnah that fell into the pit. Why? Maybe because it's in the pit, so you have a sar ba'ali chayim. It's it's dying over there. There's no nourishment. There's no food to eat. It doesn't have anything to graze, anywhere to graze. So I should do harama and bring Rabbi Yeshua. It's machlokas. We'll see Yeshua and Rabbi Lezer on Chav Zayin and Aleph, but also as Beno about a mother and a child that fall into a pit. You can't really bring both of them up because you can't shech both on the same day on Yom Tov. You need a shech. So in order to bring both up, so you're allowed to, according to Rabbi Yeshua, you're allowed to do a harama and say, oh, I really want the child, and then you bring it up and say, no, I really changed my mind. I really want the mother. Rabbi Lezer doesn't allow you to do this harama. Yeshua doesn't allow you to do it. So here also we can do the harama because of sar ba'ali chayim. It doesn't have anywhere to graze. So kamash malan, the chiddush is that Rishimon says you can't bring it up. So the whereas the ihaki lo yishchot lo yalav yishchot mi ba'ilai. If that's true, so why is the lashon of the Mishnah say you shouldn't shecht it? It should say lo yalav yishchot. The chiddush of the Mishnah really is that about Sar Bali Chaim, that you're not allowed to, even because of Sar Bali Chaim, you're not allowed to do harama and bring it up. So when there's a little stricha, the Avro ask you. The Mishnah is really talking about, we already brought it up. So what's the Gemara talking? So what is it? Gemara talking? Since you brought it up already, and now you see it as a mum, you should shecht it. Kamash malan, you don't shecht it. So the Gemara continues, this is really just explaining what's going on over here. Lichshadei, how could you shecht it? Hatamu, it doesn't have a mum, right? Who says it has a mum? So it's lo stricha l'nafavle mum. We're really talking about in the Mishnah where it actually did have a mum. You went down, you brought it up, and you found that it had a mum. But it's muksahu. It's muksa. Repeater holds of muksa. So even if he holds, you can see a mum on Yom Tov to be mashing the animal. It's muksa. He didn't know it had a mum. Mum over erev Yom Tov. It had a temporary mum on erev Yom Tov. He knew about that. Hashta havale mum kavua. Now it changed to mum kavua. So you brought it up, not really legally. You brought it up, and now you saw the mum. You saw the mum change from mum over to mum kavua. You might think that that his das is on it. Kamash Malan, you can't shecht it according to Reb Shimon. You can't shecht it because you can't see mumin on Yom Tov. Even with the Eved, you can't see mumin. It's considered to be masak and mana. Tanur B'chor tam shnafal labor. The case of a Bechor Tam, where it was a Bechor that didn't have a mum, you know it didn't have a mum, it fell into the bar. Nasi says, Yered mum chaviyira, yishmum yalav yishchod lavli yishchod. He says you can go down to the bar, and you can see if it has a mum, he allows you to see mumin on Yom Tov. You could bring it up and shecht it. If not, you can't shecht it. Amalo Rabbi Shimon ben Nasti, Amru ein roan mum Yom Tov. We said already. It said we see from Rabbi Shimon in our Mishnah that you can't see mumin on Yom Tov. Consider convening a beis din. You convene a beis din on Yom Tov. It's like a tikkun mana. It's like you're halachically doing something, fixing something. It's a problem. Keitzad no lobo mum. The Beitzah continues. The Shem says, "Arei ein roa mum Yom Tov." Keitzad no lobo mum erev Yom Tov. If it had a mum on erev Yom Tov, even a vakar also be Yom Tov. You can't check it on Yom Tov to declare, to pronounce that it has a mum. No lobo mum be Yom Tov. If it didn't have a mum on erev Yom Tov, it had a mum on Yom Tov. Shon omer ein zemen amuchan. He says not men amuchan. It's not prepared. Shavin shem nolad hu mumo imo shezemen amuchan. And they agree. This is we're going to talk about a new halacha that if the bachor is born with a mum kavua, then it is considered muchan. It is considered ready. It's not considered a problem muksa because it never had at a stage where it wasn't ready. Because in the mother's stomach, if you shech the mother, it wouldn't be called a bachor. Bachor has to be pet derech, when it has to be born naturally. It wasn't born naturally. If you shech the mother and you took the baby out of the womb of the mother, that's not called a bachor. You could eat that. So therefore, it was already in the mother's stomach. It was ready, and when it was born, it was ready also. So it was never a stage where it was at muksa. Rabbi Rav Huna said that when this Mishnah says Shavin Shem Nolad B'Mu'ad, that you could even Shavin Shem Nolad Hu Mu'ad Imo Shamin Amuchan, it's even L'Chadchila, you're allowed to shech the animal, to declare that it has a mum and eat it. Amalei Rav Nachman Abba Tani Im Avar O Bikro Mavukar. My father, Nachman says, my father taught if you checked it, then b'diavad it's considered a good checking. You could eat it. Only b'diavad. Adam Mar Mevakar Sal L'Chadchila. And you're trying to tell me that you're allowed to do l'chadchila. Amar Abaye Kavasi Rabba Rav Huna Mistaber. It makes sense, like Rabba Rav Huna, that you can actually do l'chadchila milikatani tlas abavi. It says three parts in this price. Another mum erev Yom Tov. If it had a mum erev Yom Tov, ein mavakar so be Yom Tov l'chadchila. L'chadchila hudelo had the evet shopper dami. That's talking about only l'chadchila. L'chadchila you can't check it on Yom Tov, but the evet you could because they already had a mum on erev Yom Tov, so you're just checking it. You're not really doing anything. It's not really tikkun mana. It had a mum. No mum may be Yom Tov. If it didn't have a mum on erev Yom, they had a mum on Yom Tov. Shouldn't ein zem and amuchan. To fill the evet namilo. That's considered a real tikkun mana because it didn't have a mum now, and now you're declaring it to be good for a kohen. You're declaring it to be good for a kohen to eat or for Yisrael to eat. That's considered a real tikkun. That's a real base and a real tikkun mana. Hadar Tani in the third section of the Beitzah, Shavan Shem Nolan Mum Zemen Amuchan. Why the Beitzah is separated into three cases? It's mashma that you could even do a you could even eat the animal. V'hakiyasa Rav Oshaya. This is really true that you can even do l'chachila. When Rav Oshaya came, Asav Aisi Masis Biyadi, he came with a Beitzah in his hand. He taught us a Beitzah. Ben Shenolad Bo Mum Erev Yom Tov. Ben Shenolad Bo Mum Biyom Tov. Whether the moon was there on Erev Yom Tov or was there on Yom Tov. The Chum on Mein Zemen Amuchan. Chum say it's not Min Amuchan. So this contradicts the Beitzah. The Beitzah seems to say that if it got a moon on Erev Yom Tov, so then B'diavad will be okay. If it got a moon on Yom Tov, then B'diavad it's not okay. Here, Voshaya's Beitzah puts them into one case. So we see there's not three cases, separate cases in the Beitzah with three separate dinim. He connects these two dinim together, and he says whether it had a mum on Yom Tov or a mum on Erev Yom Tov. And Zemen Amuchan sounds like you can't do it b'diavad. Helakashahach. What are you going to do with the other Beitzah, which sounds like separated into three segments? Hahi adabar uchmihi meshabish v'tani. That first Beitzah, that seems to mashma that it's okay. It's adabar uchmi who made a mistake, and he teaches Beitzahs the wrong way. He forgets his Beitzahs. He must have added words that weren't there. Amar of Nachum, Asisanami Daik. Our Mishnah is also mashma, like what we're trying to say. Tani Rav Shimon Omer, Kol She'ein Mum Nikar B'Erev Yom Tov, Ein Zemen Amuchan. My Ein Mum Nikar. What does it mean that the mum is not recognizable from Erev Yom Tov? Ilay Meshem Mum Nikar Klal. It's not recognizable at all. Pshita. Shricha L'Meimar. You don't have to tell me. If it's not Nikar at all, then it's for sure considered to be Roin Mum Yom Tov. It's like doing a din on Yom Tov. That's a problem. The convening a basin on Yom Tov is a problem. If it had a mum on Yom Tov, it wasn't shown to Chach on Yom Tov. A mum kavu, a mum over. Whether it was really a permanent mum or a temporary mum. So that must be, that's what we're talking about. Where it had a mum on Erev Yom Tov, and therefore it's not considered to be a complete convening of basin, because already we saw that it had a mum yesterday, so they're not really misaking something completely, and it's okay, it's not a problem, Ron mum be Yom Tov. Kasani miyas, ein zemen amucha. See it from this, it says, ein zemen amucha, shma mina, that you see that the diavad, it's going to be a problem, it would be okay, but the l'chachila it's going to be a problem. I'm sorry, kasani miyas, ein zemen amucha. Ein zemen amucha is mashma even with diavad. So you see, even with diavad, even if it had a mum, a question, you knew it had a mum at Erev Yom Tov, you weren't sure what it was, it's considered to be Rowan Mumim on Yom Tov. It's considered to be like you're adjourning a basin on Yom Tov, convening a basin on Yom Tov, even to decide whether it's Mum Kavur or Mum over, and it'll be Asri and B'diavad. Hillel Mirova. Yesh Muksa L'chati Shabbos or in Muksa L'chati Shabbos. Is there Muksa for half of Shabbos, or is there not Muksa for half of Shabbos? What does this mean exactly? What's the case? If the thing was ready, you prepared it before Yom Tov, you had das to use it before Yom Tov or Shabbos, it's ready. Bein hashmash is kovea, whether something is muchan or not. Either lo echsi, it wasn't prepared, but bein hashmash is not prepared. It's never going to be lose its status of muksa, and muksa the whole Shabbos. It was roy bein hashmash, so you did have das, and then it got pushed away. We'll see what the case is, that it got pushed away from being prepared to use. It got, you're unable to use it for some reason, and then it fixed itself. Amar yesh muksa. So he said there is muksa. It would be considered muksa if it's idchi, it's an idchi that's pushed away from being able to use it for part of Shabbos. Even when it returns in the middle of Shabbos to being ready to be used, it's considered muksa. Esive brings a question from our Beitzah, v'shavin shem no little mumo imo shezemen amucha. If the Bechor is born with the mum, it's considered muchan. My name, Ahai Bechor Mikara Havachazi Agavime. When it was in the womb of the mother, it was fit because in the mother it's not a Bechor yet. It's Yalile, once it's born, Idchile. Then it gets pushed away because the Bechor, it's not muchan, you didn't prepare it from yesterday. When you show it to a Chacham and he matters, he says the mum kavua. So it becomes mutter. Amar Vai, Yivim Safra, you go in the Yasvi Daini Hasam. The case over there is when, this is according to Rabbi Yehuda, it says you're allowed to re-roll and mum b'yom tov. It's talking about where the judges were sitting there. They were sitting there, and right when it was born, they saw that it was a mum kavua, so therefore never had a chance to be nidchas. Right away, they're machshir. Ika da Amri, alternatively, a different way of saying this Gemara. Amarle ein muksa l'chati Shabbos. He responded to him that there is no muksa l'chati Shabbos. It's not considered muksa. If it's nidchis in the middle of Shabbos, then it becomes roy again. Leimu misayele. Say you can bring a proof from our Beitzah. V'shamash noladu mum leimo shezemin amuchan. If it's born with the mum, it isn't muchan. Ha'bachor mikara v'chaz yakav yimei v'stolei l'chilei yachziyei l'chach mishri lei. The same thing, right? It became nidchis and then niris again. Again, you can't bring a proof to it because we can say the cases where the judges, the Dayanim, were sitting there and they matri it right away. Tashma. He was eating grapes and he had extra grapes, and he didn't have room to fit him in his stomach. He brought him up to his roof where the sun was shining. Last man Samuk, and he wants to dry them out and make them into raisins, or he's eating on Shabbos figs. And he had extra. Last man Grogros, he wants to make dried figs. The Yochanan Hachi Yasmin, this price is mashma. That it's usher to eat them the rest of Shabbos, even if they turn again roy, they become smoking or they become gross on Shabbos, until you had to have prepared bod yom. The same thing applies to peaches and quinches. I don't know what quinches are. Rashar kol minei peiros, also other peiros. Heichidami. What's the case is price? Either chazu if they were always fit for eating lamole hazmana. Why do you have to prepare it? Either lo chazu if they weren't fit, my heavy. If they weren't fit to eat, so what does it matter if you're mazmin them? Maybe you'll tell me he didn't know if they were fit or not. Amar Rav Kahana muksa shiyavish ve'ena ba'alam makirin bo. Muksa that got dried out, and the owners don't know whether it's ready to eat or not. Mutter. We have a member of Kahana. He says mutter. Alav the chazu v'idchu v'hadar ichsu. Must be our case. We're talking about where they were fit in the beginning of Shabbos. He had grapes, then he had extra one. They're in it because he put them in the sun. You can't eat the raisins right away until they dry out. It's in the middle. It's not edible in the middle. And then they became raisins on Shabbos. And if you'll tell me there's no muksa on Chatzi Shabbos, so why does he have to prepare them before Shabbos? Elamai. So what do you tell me? Yesh muksa. So there is muksa on Chatzi Shabbos. He asked me who my happy. It doesn't matter. He prepared them before Shabbos. He said I'm going to eat from these dried out raisins that I dry out after I finish eating my grapes. How does it help? They were nidchas. They were pushed away in the middle of Shabbos. The Gemara says you can't bring a proof from this price. That's not talking about. We're talking about a case where at the beginning of Shabbos he was eating the grapes before Shabbos, and then he put them to dry during Ben Hashmashos. And in Ben Hashmashos, they were in a state where some people would eat them and some people wouldn't. Some people would eat from these figs and some people, or these raisins, some people wouldn't. Azmin, if he is mazmin at Ben Hashmashos gali daita, he shows that he's really mazmin, he wants to make a muchan. Lo azmin lo gali daita, if he's not say I want to use these raisins, so it shows he doesn't have das for them. So the Gemara says you can't bring a proof from this. It's not talking about a case of Muksal Chatzi Shabbos. It's talking about a case where he ate the grapes before Shabbos and they're suffix whether a person has das for them at Ben Hashmashos. I'm Reb Zera. So Reb Zera tries to answer our question of Muksal Chatzi Shabbos. Tashmam, Poland v'adash. I can bring a logical proof, rational proof from Poland, from beans and adash or lentils. Poland v'adash and mikara chazu lakus. Yeah, let's say you cook them on Yom Tov. You're allowed to cook lentils and beans on Yom Tov. So if you don't cook them, they're raw. You can chew on them. You can eat them raw. Shadinu bikteir. Once he throws them, it's about to cook them. Idchulu, you can't eat them while it's cooking. It's boiling water. Can't eat it in the middle of Yom Tov. Gam b'shulai. Once they finish cooking chazu, then it's fit. So you see, there's no ein muksal l'chatzi Shabbos. The fact we eat these polim v'adash that you cook, so you see the ein muksal l'chatzi Yom Tov. According to your reasoning, on top of you could ask from any pot on Reil Shabbos when you cook a pot of food and you leave it Ben Hashmashos boiling Ben Hashmashos. If you'll say that it's considered nidchis when it's boiling, when it's in the pot and it's cooking, you can't eat it because it's too hot. All our pasta, we make a cholent. We put it up before Shabbos, boiling ben hashmashos. So how could you eat it on Shabbos? It's nidches, ben hashmashos. It's not roy, so it's going to be muksa. Lor saflim minayo, and at night we eat it, or the next day you eat the cholent. Elagam rubi de adam lo kami boilan. Must be this case of muksa l'chatzi Shabbos. And in muksa l'chatzi Shabbos is talking about a case he kami boilan gam rubi de shamay. Only we're talking about where the readiness of the food is in the hands of Shammai, where it happens naturally. If you go ahead, and it's totally in whether you choose, you could always take the food out of the pot, and even while it's cooking, you could take the food out of the pot and eat the food. It'll cool off, and you can eat it. So it's never really nidchis b'dei adam. It's totally in the decisions of people, and people could always take it out. It's never really nidchis, so therefore you could eat it. It's not muksa. We're talking b'dei Shammai. Over here, he leaves it. He leaves something in the sun to dry out, so therefore it's totally in Shamayim whether the sun will dry it out or not. That's not totally in him, so that's the shot of the Gemara. We'll try to the Gemara leaves us as a suffix. We'll see tomorrow if the Gemara maybe can answer this. Anyway, Tzlach Harabah, have a good Hoshana Rabbah. Everyone should do learn the whole night, learn the next night, and the next night, and the next night, 4 nights in a row. You learn at Tainis Dibur for 3 out of 4 nights. You don't have to have Tainis Dibur the 4th night. Good to stay up 4 nights in a row. Tainis Dibur and also a Tainis Kamachila for 3 days also. So it's a recipe for success for a Gemar Din, for a Piskatova, whatever. I was in the Makola and I said Gemar Tov to somebody. Gemar Tov, Piskatova. Does anyone have any idea what this means? I don't. Have a good night. Bye.